Alright, so we are in the top section on page Kuf Aleph. There is Mido and Gevul and Tchum. We already said that Mido, measure, this identifies the particular sphirot, the particular means by which the Likud is Nizgala, the sphirot, Chachma versus Bina and so forth. Each one is identified individually. This is what gives each one a name of their own. Then there is what's called Gevul and Tchum. Gevul means border. Tchum is very similar, and we will discuss it now. Now, the second line from the top. Be'inyan, in the middle of the line. Be'inyan Gevul Tchum Isam Likudetera Be'habir the Yored HaGvul. In the Likudetera he explains about Gevul and Tchum. Shehu Yinyan Echad. So he says that in fact this is one inyan. Nonetheless, it's one inyan, but there are two aspects to it. V'yesh loimer. And based on the fact that he says that Gevul and Tchum are an inyan echad. It's one inyan. I want to, again, he says one inyan, so why we have two names? And there's a choice of word, inyan echad, not dover echad, inyan echad. Inyan, we already, inyan means what is its aim? What is it about? This means inyan. Inyan echad means it has one and the same purpose. And in accompanying this purpose, there are two aspects. Yesh leimer, and in conjunction with that, we say the gevul who that gevul is ha'hagvola be'efon hagili, is that which limits it, hagvola, which borders it, be'efon hagili, talking about be'efon hagili, the manner in which it comes to expression. What are the manners of coming to expression? In beriboy, in bemiut, or bemiut. Whether it's on an increasing, in a great measure, in a great manner, or bemiut, or in a reduced manner. The gilui could be riboy and miut, as we mentioned, that we spoke about it. The Rebbe spoke about it earlier. He said about Kiruv Mokim and Richuk Mokim. Kiruv Mokim means, like he gave the motion of a chacham, of the sage speaking to the simpleton or to the average person, and he speaks with him in excess of what is necessary to express the thought that he wants to express. And what is this excessive speaking entail? What is it for? What does it represent? It represents a special affinity, special interest. Eifon hagilui, im beriba im b'miut. Greater manner of gilui and lesser manner of gilui represents what is the essential connection, relationship. What is the intent? Why do I megala? Do I want to be megala or I don't want to megala? If I'm megala a necessity, then gili is going to be in a very limited manner. If it's a megala because I want to be megala, then it's going to be in a different way. It's going to be in excess.
Excess light. could you say excess light, excess
Gilui.
an excess of revelation?
Right, the revelation is going to be in a greater manner.
Could you think light or just gilui per se?
Yes, yes, it's Gilui ha'oir.
Okay.
But you're elaborating on the oir excessively. That's
Okay.
Gilui ha'oir. This is the uniform gevul. Alright, I'm so to speak, warning and preambling it. We are speaking about concepts of extreme nuance and extreme sensitivity, which we do not encounter in our daily experiences or daily concerns or even a yearly concerns. It is not something that concerns us in our activity, in our life. These are inyonim. What they are we talking about? We're talking about how godliness comes into the world, and the principle in this inyan that godliness comes to the world is to understand world and godliness are not eons apart, totally distant, different worlds. It's like in the Shomayim and Oretz. Shomayim and Oretz do not meet. Oretz is meant to be Oretz, and Shomayim is meant to be Shomayim. And yet, the oir eleki, the impact of Elokus, is so construed over the whole process of Hishtalshelus, so that a world comes to be. In line with this, I just want to give us a clear distinction: godliness and worldliness. So we will limit our discussion of godliness to ruchnius, to neshama. A neshama is a godly presence in the human being. The reason that the human being tends towards intelligence, tends towards identifying right from wrong, and even good from evil. The reason a human being cannot eat from the floor, but he can eat only from a spoon and a place. These are not things that he learns. These are things which are inherent in the human being. And what is it that expresses itself in this? It is when God created all the creatures, and He created many living creatures, nefesh chai, many living creatures. All of them, in terms of being created, or preceded the human being. At the very end, when the whole world was complete, then God said, "Let us make man." And this is not only is it a separate creature, the whole decision to make it is a separate decision. It's a different category. There are many, many things that the Torah expresses that tell us that how the the creation of the human being is distinction from everything else. One thing that I want to point out is every creature was creating a nefesh chaya, a living being. The human being was created a body, and then he put a neshama in him. What is the significance of this difference? What was the neshama given to him as an express? I'm giving him a neshama. All the beasts have a neshama, have a nefesh chaya. And of course the explanation is, all the beasts have a nefesh chaya, and the nefesh chaya consists in the fact that it gives life to a body, making a living body. We spoke about it many, many times. There is not an independent function of nefesh, independent of body. The function of the nefesh is to give the body to keep the body alive. And if the body does not live, it disintegrates. The human nefesh is a completely different nefesh. And it was put into the human being after being creation in independent, a separate step, to denote and to give him the sense that his life is focused on nefesh, not on guf. He is much more conscious, or at least should be more conscious of his nefesh than of his body, of his guf. And in fact, even though we say it should be, because we lose our way many times and so forth, but nonetheless, it still surfaces in almost in every human activity. The principle that a human being, as we speak all the time, does normal activities that are similar the animal also does, but he does it in a special, unique human way, is in deference to his neshama, to his nefesh. It has nothing to do with his body. This is in deference to his neshama. He feels that this would be an insult to his neshama if he sits down on the floor and eats from the floor. Not to his body. He can create, so to speak, hygienic food process on the floor. And certainly what the Gemara says, he takes food, that's what's called the fast food joint, fast food, it's a whole process, whole definition. Fast food, what is fast food? Fast food, you go into the store, order a sandwich, and run out and eat the sandwich as you're running. This is an insult to the nefesh. And he is eating, he's enjoying it, the body enjoys it. But it's an insult to the nefesh of the human being. That's why he said, Doimel Kislev. He's eating. Of course, it's healthy food, but he's like a Kislev. He lost his sense of what he is, how he distinguishes from a Kislev. He's eating not to feed the body, but to feed the nefesh. It's a possible. Tzadik oichel siva nafshay. So, this inyan, and the human being his principle is a nefesh. And even though he functions on the body level, but it is all to facilitate a nefesh quality, a nefesh revelation. This is a moshel to the inyan that we're talking about, Milmayim. Just like, this is a moshel to the, but let's elaborate on the moshel. The human life consists of nefesh. And in order that it should be in world, in the body, the nefesh aspect has to be so reduced in terms of the oir. He cannot focus on exclusively on nefesh. It has to be the nefesh, and then identify how nefesh can understand and relate to body. As an example, he has to eat, but he has to eat in a nefesh manner, in a respectful manner. And if that is lacking, then he loses his human status. So this union, riboy and miyut, this is the riboy and miyut, how much of the oir comes to expression and how much it's reduced. It must be reduced. In other words, if a person is focused exclusively on his nefesh, he is in a state, hopefully it will be it's a proper marshal. He is in a state as a person stands in Shimon Esrei. His mind is completely in a different realm. Hopefully we experience this occasionally. He can't eat. The halacha is that when you eat, you're not allowed to distract your mind completely from eating, because then the food goes in the wrong way.
Right. Well, this is meant to illustrate miyut and ribui.
Mm-hmm. In the oil. I'm explaining what is the purpose of that. What is the inyan in this?
Right. And we got into this in the context of gevul.
Right.
Gevul hu hagbala ba'ofen hagilui.
That's right.
Which the simple meaning of that phrase is that border or limitation is limitation in a revealed way.
1 second. Limitation and order is not the same word.
Border.
A border, okay. Yeah.
Gevul hu hagbala ba'ofen hagilui.
Yeah.
A border is limitation in a revealed way.
No, ba'ofen hagilui, in a manner that it gets revealed.
Okay.
In a manner that it gets revealed.
Okay. So we've talked about gilui a whole bunch, but gevul per se, gevul seems to be the subject, but we've not really explored that or said much about.
Well, we maybe without emphasis. There's a gilui hanefesh, but that gilui has to be bordered, has to be limited in order to facilitate its function on the worldly level.
Okay. Irrespective of if it's ribui or miyut, it needs this element of gevul.
No, this is ribui miyut. If he is concentrated on his studies, he can't eat.
Okay, and that's an example of gevul.
That would be ribui. That would be that he is focused. He has ribui in the nefesh element, and it does not allow for combining with the bodily function.
Okay, so again, this word gevul, what's the topic here? What should we? I'm not sure I'm understanding what is meant by gevul in this context.
But gevul means the following, okay? As I said, by human being, nefesh is the center of is the principle of his activity. But there has to be a gevul applied to that so that it functions on a bodily level.
Okay. Okay.
This is, okay, so we explained gevul, and we have to explain tchum. Gevul and Tchum are the same inyan, meaning it has one and the same purpose, intent.
Mm.
But there are different aspects that are involved in that intent. Gevul is a limit, which means in beriba imamiyut. Even agilui, whether it's a lot or little. Tchum is another category in that aspect. So let me explain. The next line, fourth line from the top. Utchum hu ha'hagbala v'ha'hefsek shal dei hakeli. Ha'hagbala, again, the word gvul, but here the word hagbala means something different. There are two aspects in hagbala. So gvul means ribei miut. Like we said, ribei miut, like, so even though that a person has to, but he does not thereby completely ignore his nefesh, the oil nefesh. He eats in a respectable manner. What is he respecting? He's respecting his nefesh. So in other words, there is a consciousness, it's in gevul nefesh, but it's limited. This is the inyan. Then there's another inyan of gevul. It's called tchum. Tchum means the border. Gevul is the boundary and the border. The border means this is where it actually ends. Tchum ha'agbala v'ha'hefsek shal dei hakeli. Hefsek means it's ended, it's interrupted. That comes as a result of keli. Let's see if we can, so to speak, capture this concept here. Hagbala v'hefsek shal dei hakelim. You can have a trickle of water coming, which is what you would call the gevul. It doesn't come in a great flow. It comes in a trickle. But if this is a continuous trickle, it cannot fit into a keli. It will ultimately overflow the keli. If it's a deluge, if it's a strong flow, then it will never fit in, it won't even touch a keli. It will just jump out. But if it's a trickle, it could fit in the keli. But it also has to have an end, because if it can, it will overflow the keli. In other words, when you take a cup and you fill it with water, there are two aspects here. One is that you have to have a flow of water that will stay in the keli. It will not jump out as soon as you touch it, it will be thrown out of it. This is the first inyan, the gevul, how it comes. Then there is an inyan that itself has to stop, so that the keli can encompass it. What is the advantage? Who needs a keli? I have the water. The answer is, the water has various functions. It's a wonderful thing. But in order to drink the water, it has to be presented in a keli. Without a keli, you cannot bring the water to that state of drinking it. You can take a shower without a keli, but you can't drink it. which means in order to drink it you have to fit into a keli, and in order to fit in the keli it has to be interrupted. The flow has to interrupt. This is called the tchum. I just want to, by us, the word tchum immediately conjures out the principle of tchum Shabbos. What's a tchum Shabbos? You take a walk on Shabbos. It's a pleasant walk. As far as you're concerned, you can continue to walk. But Shabbos declares that if you continue to walk beyond this distance, this demarcation line, you have violated a principle of Shabbos. Because Shabbos is supposed to be, so to speak, in your place, and you have this distance yourself in this place. You broke away from the place. It's not a question of how difficult it is for you to continue to walk. It is defined by the presence itself. So the gevul, the tchum. In order for in Shabbos it says Shu ish tachtov. Shabbos is supposed to be in your place, even though of course you're not tied down, but nonetheless in your place means that you do not go you go out from the boundary that can be said that you are still in the same place. If your house is very large, in the house you have a mile-long corridor in your house. You can walk the whole mile 10 times a day. But if you venture out of the house, then there is a nifun. That means that you have stepped out from the area where you are stationed. There is a limit. This is not the chum. It's not a question of how strong the flow and so forth. It is that the flow has to end. It has to be able to be contained within a keli. Shabbos, it's not a question of how difficult it is for you to get there. It is that what defines the place where you are. Okay, yes, you have a question. Looks like you have a question.
I'm just not sure I'm seeing the difference here. They said Al Yidei Keli goes on Tchum. So I'm hearing like specifically Keli, and I'm also hearing a sort of domain, like an area, but I don't know if I'm getting the point here. Maybe there's just a good English word to separate gevul. I hear border, tchum I hear sort of domain. They seem very...
Yeah, but what is the difference? The point is this. You have a cup, and you can fill the cup with water. In order to fill the cup with water, you have to limit the flow of the water so that when the water falls into the cup, it stays.
Okay.
It cannot be a strong flow. It's just not going to.
So is that a key feature of tchum?
No, this is
moderating the flow is tchum.
No, this is the gevul. Gevul is how is the gilui? What force does the gilui come? B'riba or b'miyut?
almost the rate of exposure, the
The
rate
rate-
of the
the rate of
revelation,
exposure,
right?
that's
Okay.
The rate of exposure, okay. And then afterwards, the next step, thing is that you're talking. Yeah, the rate of exposure is there, but now you want to define it. It is in order to contain it in a keli. This is a different thing. This is even the limited flow has to stop. Because even a trickle, if you let it, a drip of water.
So that end point, let's call it, that complete cessation.
That's right. This is called tchum. It's a different area.
Because there's no ongoing gilui happening, it's now sort of in a keli, it's almost frozen.
Not when to stop.
Okay.
And if it doesn't stop, then you're going outside of its border, outside where it belongs.
Okay.
Just like Sutkum Shabbos.
Okay.
This is it for this morning. This is the tchum.
Yeah.
A good chayes, a good year.